League of Legends is built on unforgettable moments, not just the game-winning ultimates or last-second Baron steals, but the cultural earthquakes that make you cheer, gasp, or sit in stunned silence. From Faker's jaw-dropping outplays to your hometown squad finally turning the tide, some plays transcend fandom and reshape the entire scene. So crank the volume, hit play, and let's relive the most epic game-defining highlights in League of Legends history. Are you ready to feel the hype? The day Linkin Park took the rift. Alright, we're gonna start off with a banger, literally. When Riot partnered with Linkin Park, yeah, that freaking Linkin Park, for the World Championship anthem Heavy as the Crown, fans braced themselves for a good track. What they got was something else entirely. In just 1 month, the anthem racked up nearly 10 million views in its first day and over 360 million streams total. That's not just a little bit of hype, that's a huge freaking impact. But here's the real kicker, the live version. The opening ceremony was way better than anybody expected. The new lead vocalist, Emily Armstrong, absolutely nailed the extended scream. And if you were watching live when the Summoner's Cup rose up into the spotlight, oh, goosebumps. It was theatrical, explosive, emotional, and it set the stage, literally, for what turned out to be one of the most thrilling world championships in League of Legends history. The 2013 championship. Fast forward to 2013. League of Legends wasn't new at this point, but the scale of what Riot was attempting absolutely was. It was the Staples Center in LA, the same place the Lakers call home, and League of Legends was about to take over the entire arena. Over 32 million people tuned in to watch SK Telecom T1 dismantle Royal Club, a staggering leap from the 8.2 million who watched the previous year. That's a 290% increase in viewership. And yeah, those are numbers that got people in suits and ties paying attention. This wasn't just a win for SKT, it was a win for esports in general. It proved that a game born from online communities could go toe-to-toe with traditional sports. The English broadcast team grew from a handful of casters into a full-blown studio crew. A lot of players and casters became household names in the scene, and Monte Cristo, complete with conductor's hat, led the SKT hype train like it was a one-way ticket to history. Okay, groan if you want to, but hear me out. Samsung White lifts the 2014 Summoners Cup in Seoul. Imagine Dragon's Play, confetti falls, and behind the scenes, pandemonium. The Korean Exodus wasn't just an off-season, it was a major event in the world of esports. It was flush with cash, it looked at the perfectly honed Korean machine and said, mine. Remember Royal Club grabbing Insec and Zero? That was the starter pistol. By spring 2015, only 3 all-Chinese LPL teams. By summer, 1. RNG holding the fort, barely. And it wasn't just China. North America saw Piglet swap SKT Blue for Team Liquid Black. And Europe took Honey and Rain over, a top jungle duo that joined Fnatic and terrorized the EU LCS with aggression Europe hadn't quite seen before. The gates were blown wide open. Why? 2 seismic shifts in Korea. OGN Champions became LCK, a league format, and the sister team system, where orgs fielded multiple rosters, got nuked. Talent flooded the global market. Chaos? Absolutely. Teams like LGD Gaming assembled super teams that imploded spectacularly. Cultural clashes, communication breakdowns, homesickness, the human cost was real. But the impact, that was monumental. It forced regions to adapt. China learned, painfully slowly, how to integrate Korean stars effectively, eventually birthing powerhouses like FPX. Europe learned to value its own infrastructure and coaching, paving the way for G2's later dominance. Korea itself, stripped bare, had to rebuild its talent pipeline from the ground up. This messy, often painful exodus fundamentally reshaped the global league. It proved esports talent was truly international, mobile, and incredibly valuable. It forced infrastructure upgrades everywhere. Lessons learned here about scouting, integration, treating players as people, not just robots, echoed far beyond League. It influenced how titles like Overwatch approached their own global leagues. It was messy, controversial, and utterly transformative. The Miracle on Summoner's Rift, Shulk's 2020 Summer Sprint. Fast forward to 2020, Schalke 04. The Royal Blues weren't just bad, they were dire. Spring, 7th place. Summer, after 11 games, 1-10. 1 win, 10 losses. Statisticians put their chances at roughly the same odds of finding a polite Yuso main. Otherwise, 4.7%. It was over. Pack it up, see you next split. Then something happened. A guy that went by the name of Erberk Geilis Demir. Now suddenly God Geilis wasn't ironic, it was prophetic. He played like a man possessed. Then Felix Abadash Braun woke up, channeling mid-lane brilliance people knew he had but rarely saw consistently. Wins started stacking. 3-10 became 5-10, then 6-10, 7-10. Belief, fragile but real, sparked within the team and spread like wildfire through the fan base. The Schalke 04 miracle run became the LEC's impossible fairy tale. Week after week, against increasingly desperate opposition, they clawed out victories. 7 wins in a row, from the absolute brink of irrelevance to the Summoner playoffs. The sheer unadulterated narrative of it was intoxicating. The underdog story, the defiance of logic, the raw emotion of a team finding its soul when all hope seemed lost. They eventually fell to Mad Lions in the gauntlet, but honestly, nobody even cared about that ending. It was all about the journey. The rivalry rekindled. Fnatic slays the G2 Dragon. Okay, G2 esports, for years, they weren't just Europe's best, they were Europe's overlords. Masters of the regular season, kings of the playoffs. Their dominance was so complete, their swagger was so undeniable that defeating them felt less like an achievement and more like a myth. Especially for Fnatic, the OG Kings, the foundation of EU League of Legends. But for 874 days, Fnatic hadn't beaten their arch rivals in a best of 5. 874 days of G2 supremacy in the clutch moments. August 29th, 2020, LEC Summer Split Playoffs, Upper Bracket Semifinals. Fnatic hadn't exactly stormed into playoffs, they'd stumbled. G2, while perhaps not at their absolute peak, were still G2. The expectation, another notch on G2's belt, another step towards another title. What followed wasn't a flawless masterpiece, it was a brutal, messy 5-game war of attrition. Nerves showed, mistakes were made, but Fnatic played with a fire, a desperation, a belief that had been missing for far too long. Jungler Oscar Self-Made Boderick was a monster. Martin Reckles Larson, the stoic veteran, delivered clutch moment after clutch moment. Game 5, tension thick enough to choke on, and then victory. Not just a win, but the shattering of a near 3-year-long curse. The relief, the roar from the Fnatic camp, the sheer disbelief mixed with euphoria, it was palpable even through the screen. This wasn't just about securing a playoff spot, it was about restoring balance to the Force. The Fnatic vs G2 rivalry, the lifeblood of European League of Legends, was well and truly back. It proved G2 could be beaten when it mattered most. It gave Europe hope beyond a single team. It was the return of the king, battered but unbowed, and it was incredibly satisfying. So what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.